Hello, everyone. Welcome to the African Duchess show with your host, Ruby Dopa from Zimbabwe in Southern Africa. I hope you can all hear me. The issue of today will be on family planning. Sorry, let me just reduce my volume. Okay, sorry for that. So, welcome everyone to the African Duchess show with your host, Ruby Zopa from Zimbabwe in Southern Africa. Today, the topic of the day is on family planning, and we are joined with two very professional health gurus. We have Cindy Somatsokotere, a nutritionist, and we have Deborah Makumbinde. Deborah, maybe you can say hi to everyone and tell us a bit about yourself. I'm sure people are now a bit acquainted with Cindy from yesterday's show, but the people want to know who is Deborah. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Rumbi. My name is Deborah Makumbinde, like highlighted by Rumbi. I'm a registered nurse. I'm also a project manager and an aspiring health publicist. Just to say it in short. And as she has emphasized already, I'm definitely a health professional and excited to be on the show today and discuss and unravel the mysteries of today's questions. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So if you're tuning in from the chat room, people feel free to put in your comments. And your questions will be able to answer you and help address on anything that you want clarity on. We are all here to learn. We are all here to share advice. We are all here to discuss issues that are affecting people, young women and men, be it in Zimbabwe, be it in Southern Africa, in Africa as a continent, and the world at large. So, family planning services, I'll just start with the definition. This can be educational or a comprehensive medical or social activity which enable individuals, including minors, to detect freely the number and spacing of their children, to select the means by which this may be achieved. So, family planning, it's all about, let's say, the number of children a person wishes to have, and also the choice to have the children, yes, at an appointed time or not at all. So, on the issue of family planning, there are many matters that influence it. It can be the marital situation, it can be career considerations. For example, I'll take my ladies who are here, Cindy and Deborah. Let's Right now they are pursuing their careers so they can choose not to have kids now and have them later. Also the financial position, and also there are also some disabilities that may also affect one's ability to have children and raise them. So if you are sexually active, then family planning may be also involvement of let's say contraception and other techniques to control the timing of reproduction. So like I was saying, today we have two health gurus, two health professionals with us today on the panel of the guests, and maybe they could say something pertaining to the introductory that I was speaking on the issue of family planning, and also to the guests we have today. Is it important to speak on the issue of family planning? Is it important to have education on family planning? To you guys, what's your take on family planning, and if it's even worth taking on or not? So maybe you can just take up any of the questions, either Cindy or Deborah. Any of you can go first, and then the other one will just say as well.
So I think Cindy, you can start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good to be back on the show. I'm excited to discuss and hear, about our topic. So, for our topic today about family planning, as Rumbi mentioned, that it it has to do with how many children one to have, and the factors that affect such decisions. I I believe that everyone has an idea of how they, and it's always important to plan these things, to plan, because it's going to, once the child is there, it's going to affect everything. It's going to change the dynamic of your life. Like if you were waking up at 8 a.m., you're going to start waking up even in the middle of the night. It's going to affect your working hours. It's going to, like, it's going to change a lot. So it definitely needs to be planned and planned properly, because uh, if you've got unplanned and kids that are not planned for, it's going to affect your work. It's going to affect your career. It's going to affect even your finances, because children can be very expensive, and so there definitely is a need to plan before you have kids, and how you're going to have them, and pacing is important as well. Because sometimes you find that you can have a parent who has maybe a kid who's in preschool, and their sibling finishing uni. We've seen cases like that, and people plan differently. People um do things differently, but
Cindy, so can you hear me properly? I think you're breaking up a bit. Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, okay, maybe Deborah can just say a few opening remarks while we wait for Cindy to come back on. I'm sure she's having a bit of a network problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Rumbi. So, in light to what you've
Mm,
just asked us, you did ask, is it important
mm,
for us to really, indulge into family planning? And my answer is just a
mm.
straight yes. It's definitely important.
Okay.
Now, why am I saying it is important? Am I saying a bold yes? Number one, planning purposes. Number two, for clarity. Number three, it also brings solution to problems. This is me trying to summarize why it is important for someone to get testing. Now, I think I've highlighted three things: planning, clarity, and solution. Just to maybe give a bit more flesh on the planning. In other words, when we're saying for planning purposes, it's going to guide us to make bold and guided decisions. You see? So, and when we're saying it helps in making decisions, because when we now talk about having a life being, this life being is going to affect all aspects of our life. So, in essence, we need to plan for life, because whether you plan for the child or you do not, they still come into your life and they will affect your emotional status, your financial status, your social status, your scholastic status, or academic endeavors if you have any, your work environment or experience, or how in fact your work character, so to say, and even personal development. So it's definitely important for us to really talk about family planning, and more so give public awareness on the importance of these things, because in the event of somebody not being well informed, a baby pops up and they're not prepared for that child emotionally. They're not prepared for that. And in the case that this is somebody who's on an academic endeavor or journey, it means that journey is to some extent disturbed. Now, I understand that we've got rules that are saying, let's say a girl gets impregnated while she's still in her O levels, she can still go to school and not get affected. That is all fair and well. Now, in a family setup where your mother and your father are still willing to pay your fees and go forward, that is great. But knowing most of my fellow Zimbabweans, once you have a child, they'll tell you, now you're a grown up, so look out for yourself. So you see why it is important to educate those who are sexually active on the importance of what? Of family planning. I think um, this is just my intro. Thank you so much.
That. Thank you for that, Deborah and Cindy. So, okay, so we are from the African culture. We are it's generally a norm that when you get married, especially to the new words, soon as you get married, they expect you to have a baby in your first year of marriage, and then maybe you still have things that you want to pursue, or you still have I don't know, just things that you want to do, or maybe you want to enjoy your marriage as just the two of you. That how then? Whose decision is it? Is it the wife's? Is it the husband? Is it the woman? Is it the man? Because I understand this is something. Yes, it might seem very common and usual, but it's really difficult um, to address the issue of family planning. So, do you guys talk about this before entering? Let's say you want to, it's your life partner. Do you talk about this stuff before committing, or in the marriage already, or what? Because um, like I'm saying, we all come from the African culture, and the moment you say, you know what, me and my husband, we're not gonna have kids the first 2 years, first 1 year, it will seem like you are disrespecting the family name. It will seem like you are maybe people will start talking about you, the pressures that maybe our murora, our makoti, our in-law is barren and stuff like that. How do you think, or from what you've heard or from experience and whatnot, wow, how do you think we can combat such an issue when it comes to the pressures that are exerted on us by the families, be it our in-laws or be it our African culture? What do you think on this?
Oh yeah, there's
Um,
definitely
okay,
uh,
you can go ahead, Cindy.
thank you, Deb. There's definitely that pressure, and you find that as with using the example that you gave, it's so common that in the first year of marriage, people already expect you to have your first child. It's like 9 months down the line, they're expecting to see a bump, and sometimes, as you said, it's important to plan first with your partner, because in the end, you're going to be raising that child, and your in yes, they'll help here and there,
Hello,
but
ladies, can you hear me?
yes, you
Yes.
can. So, yes, your in-laws will help you raise. their grandchildren, but ultimately the decision belongs to you and your partner because you got against for the child, and it's it's important that comes in place. I think
Okay,
it's
thank you,
time
Cindy.
Auntie,
and
auntie, auntie Daro.
Deborah.
Yes, Cindy. So, I've just been listening to what you're saying, and it's definitely what the case is. So, my contribution to what you've just said is, um, I used to share with a friend of mine saying that with any relationship, it needs to be an us against the world kind of scenario. When I'm saying an us against the world scenario, I am trying to pose where number one, you're coming from different families, and they'll all have different perspectives of whichever this, whether your wife or your husband, depending on which side you are at. But the thing is, with such issues, you need to make sure as a union first you agree, because the moment there's disagreement between the couple, there's bound to be problems when you're now going to face the family. Because when you get to face the family, that's when someone says, she's the one who doesn't want to have kids, and I'm ready. Or, he's that kind of commotion. So I think there really needs to be that us against the world, where in the beginning, you guys as a couple agree, and then the second most important thing, a marriage is between two people. I understand we're not living in a bubble, but I'm strongly of the feeling that um, once it's a union between two people, yes, you've got your families and everything else, but the decision needs to lie within the two of you. However, like I said, we're not living in a bubble. We're living in a world with people. In the case that, because I have had a case where an experience, because I also counsel people, where I had a couple that were newlyweds and they had agreed between themselves not to have children for the next 3 years. But then one of the spouse's parents got diagnosed a critical illness, and they were given only, I think, almost less than 6 months to live. And she was now given pressure that you want me to die without seeing my kids and things like that. And when now such pressures are coming in, of course there's need that you might need to adjust. And I'm highlighting this because it's easier to talk about refusing and standing strong on what you believe when you're not the one faced with it. I'm saying this because in the instant that it's my boyfriend and I mean my husband and I, sorry for that, my husband and I get married, and then my parents are the ones that get terminally ill, and my mom is giving me pressure. I'll most probably bend the rules and force my husband to say, let's have a baby fast. But if it's now his parents who are terminally ill, I may feel like, no, 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 you're violating my rights. So I think in that essence, we need to also understand family dynamics, and also really, when it comes to childbearing issues, most probably first and foremost, understand each other, agree, and obviously meet halfway. That's my contribution on that one.
Hmm.
Okay. Cindy, sir, anything to say?
I love I love what Deborah said that us against the world. It's so true because um well, like in the case of the terminal illness, of course you would want to 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 make sure that your parents, or that they see their grandchildren. So I understand the pressure that could arise after you've agreed that no, we'll have kids after 4 years, and then next thing you're like, I want a baby, I want a baby now. it's um it's something that, wow, it could lead to a lot of disagreements or fights. But if your partner loves you and understand why you changed your mind, then I believe you guys can still us against the world, understanding each other. And I think I really like that point, Deb. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that, ladies. It's us against the world. I like that. Okay, so why aren't people practicing family planning? You hear people start saying, ah, you know what? We had that child, it was a mistake. Or we have we have also early child pregnancy. We have so many issues around this. Why aren't people practicing family planning? Is it expensive? What is going on? Is it religious beliefs? Is it the fear of the side effects or what? Maybe the two of you ladies, you can help us understand why people aren't practicing family planning, and yet we can all attest that it's very important. But why aren't people practicing it?
Okay, I would love to answer that one first.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, I think the first and biggest reason I would like to believe it's stigma. I'm saying this because if you see, most of the unwanted pregnancies are actually among the younger generation, the ones that are
Okay.
actually not married or tied down to anyone. Family
Mm,
planning is not really a problem. Yes, in proper marriages, obviously, is a problem because people have unplanned pregnancies. But I'm saying the crisis is bigger with people who are not necessarily, in an official or a recognized union. When I'm saying recognized, I mean traditionally or, at the
okay.
court. So now imagine you're a 19-year-old or a 25-year-old lady, and I mean, because like you said, we're Africans, my mom would not want to hear about sexual activity before my marriage. So obviously, if she's to find out that I'm taking family pills, or if I'm to walk into the pharmacy and ask for family planning pills, and the lady there looks at me and thinks, "How old are you?" She's going to have judgmental eyes. So most of the time, people then avoid using family planning because of that whole stigmatization that comes with buying them. Because the moment you're seen buying them, people then just think you are definitely, so to say, these are not really professional words, but then they'll think you're most probably a professional, you know, the prostitute, no other way to say this, but I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say. They sort of
Yeah.
associate that with promiscuity because they feel that
Mm,
what do you need to hide if you're doing the things right? Then the second reason is actually fear, because now a lot of ladies are slay queens. They want to maintain their shape. They actually hear that even if you have your jadal, you can still get pregnant. So someone is like, why get fat and still get pregnant, even if I'm on the pill or on the injection anyway? So you see some of these reasons, and then others most probably take the pill for the first week, and then after that they're just like, you know what, whatever happens happens. I think that's the side I wanted to really just look at, Cindy, so you can unravel the rest. Thank you.
okay. Thank you for that.
Mm. Right. Okay. Um, I think things have changed over the years. Um, for example, my paternal grandma had 12 kids, and
What?
yeah,
12 kids.
of children. And at
Okay.
one point, her her child was the same age as her grandchild. Imagine that in a
Mhm.
family
Mhm.
dynamic. And but then that was like, you know, 6 years ago when things were different. You know, back then people would start having kids at at like 16 or 18, you know, and then they would have kids yearly, like this year, next year, like, you know. Uh, so and then you compare to our generation now, where people have careers, people consider the financial side of things, and people consider so many things now. that people consider. So you find that now people are more a lot of people are now more careful. I'll use the word careful in how many children they have because back then you could just say, okay, my child, my like if I can't take care of my kids, they'll go and stay with their grandma in the village, and that was okay. But now you find that things have changed, dynamics have changed. People are now resorting to modern things like the culture, like people are are starting to see that no, having 12 kids comparing to like a long time ago, it's different. Times have changed, so that's another thing. People will be considering those factors as well. People are starting families a bit later now because of college, because of work, because of people are pursuing their dreams. So I think those are some of the factors now that people are considering um before they have children. And I also feel like now the world has become wait, let me look for the right word. I don't want to say a scary place to raise kids, but
Hmm.
there's so many things now that are happening around the world. The global warming, climate change, so many things that um are happening, and people are more careful now because you're thinking, okay, if I have 10 children now, and this climate change, what's going to happen in the next 50 years? What's going to happen to my family? Will they be able to survive? Or those are some of I think man, I don't know. I think these are some of the things that people are thinking about now. What do you think, Cindy or Deb?
Okay, Cindy. So thank you, Deborah, for both sharing your opinions on that. But also, I think there's an opinion that you guys left out. We have also like a religious barrier.
Oh,
I'll speak
yes.
for like the white garments, whom we call a mapostore, right? For
Mm.
them to be using medicines. It was only recently that I'm hearing that some of them they are now accessing medical services, but back in the day they did not believe in that. So you can imagine that because because of their beliefs that we should not use medicines or issue or like mm, pills of any forms in your body, right? So I also think that religion is also a barrier because even now we are still having a lot of unplanned families going on because of this religion. Can you both hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I understand you guys, you're quite Christian as well. But what's your take on this? That there are other religions or beliefs out there that will be like, you know what? No matter you get sick, no matter this what, no matter it's a blessed communion, like your marriage, no matter what, you should not take medicines, and also contraceptives are part of the package. You should not take them because we're talking about things that are quite common in Africa, things common in Zimbabwe, in our country. So, what's your take on this belief that you should not take pills or medication into your system?
Okay, thank you very much, Rumbi, for that question. Definitely, I am not sure why we left that on out.
Yeah.
That is also a very big problem because, like you're rightfully saying, not only the white garments, we also, even Catholics, they don't really believe in using condoms because they believe that, you are killing a
Uh,
life, something
yeah.
like that, you see. So with such beliefs in mind, it then becomes difficult to have a foolproof plan to say, family planning is going to be 100% successful with our population because we've got different beliefs. And actually, faith is what maketh a man. So if a person strongly believes in something, whatever they believe in will guide them to making whatever decision they want to make. Now,
Mm,
I just want to give a quick example, maybe not
okay.
so related to family planning, but I had an experience. Um, so, like I said, I'm a nurse. So, at some point, I was working in Mutare there, and I was approached by one religious leader from these churches that we're talking about, and
Mm,
so they didn't believe in going to seeking medical attention and stuff like that. So he came to me in secret and is like, sister, I know that you've been talking about immunizations in children. I've got 21 children under the age of 5. None of them have been
wow.
immunized. But you see, I'm a church leader,
Wow.
and
Mm,
I can't come with my children here because at church I tell my congregants that you cannot go and get medication. However, I've lost about 5 children already to such and such a disease. So, can we
wow.
agree that maybe you can come overnight, but you come around 10 p.m., and then you park your car about 2 kilometers away? We have someone to
Mm,
pick you up. And so, yeah, and I mean, we made an arrangement, and I walked almost like 5 kilometers from the point where we left the car to immunize his 21 children. Not talking about the ones that he lost. Now,
mm,
imagine this is me immunizing children in secret of a head of a church who's saying, please don't go seek medical health care. And I mean, we ended up having an arrangement where I would go there every other, when he had kids who were due an immunization, whether it's 14 weeks, whether it's, 9 months, six, whatever, I
mm,
would go
mm,
there
mm,
and would meet at that particular spot. So you see that what really is important is giving the people the education, giving them the knowledge so that they then
mm,
make the decision on their own.
mm,
Unfortunately, it's imperative for us to actually just give people information, but it's unfortunate that we cannot force them to make decisions or to, handle things the way we want them to handle them. So, religion or religious bias rather remains a
mm,
critical issue, but I think what we can do on our part is just inform them, just like the experience that I had in Mutare. Someone who really seeks the knowledge, if they've had too many children, trust me, they'll come back and say, look, I don't believe in this, don't share my secret with anyone, but yeah, I now want to be on family planning. I now want this and that. So I think what's really important in such instances is just to give the knowledge, just to give the information. Because once you give them information, they get time to process it. Thank you.
okay. Okay. Thank you for that, Deborah. Cindy, so do you have anything to it?
Hmm. No, not anything to add, just a comment on how sad it is that, you know, um, he he felt the need, like he saw how important it was to immunize his children, but then, how many other children have died because of, that such a belief when he was Nicodemously approaching you. I mean, he should have just said, immunize all the children in the church or something, because it's sad when innocent lives are lost because of something like that. It's really sad.
That's true. Like Deborah was saying, it's a lack of knowledge, and that is why communities are dying. That is why there's so much chaos going on, because there are people who really do not have access to this information, like at all. You can imagine there are people who don't even know that there are morning afters out there. There are people who don't know um so many things that you think, "Ah, obviously they know." They don't know. People do not know. Okay. And also, I wanted to find out on this family planning, can everyone afford them? Because I also think people, you know what, they can't afford the affordability and the lack of access to the family planning as well, because it's not everyone right now who's getting access even to something as little as bread. So I think it's also a reason why people aren't practicing it, because to someone, I don't know how much. Okay, let's start with the pills. I'm sure they are the cheapest. How much are those pills, the family planning pills?
Um, Last when I checked, before the rate changed. Now I'm saying before the rate changed, because
Okay.
I was working in the family planning department a year
Oh.
ago.
Oh wow.
We were selling them for $1, which by
Okay.
then it was a dollar. You see, a dollar US. But then that was before things went haywire in terms of the US dollar. So by then it was still affordable because it was like the same price with bread, and you're covered for the whole month.
Oh,
But
so they
now
cover
I'm
the whole month.
yes.
Oh, okay.
And
All
then
right.
in government facilities, actually, what they actually do is they do give you some of these services for free.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Of course, you still have to buy the pills, but I'm saying, like you've
Mm,
just asked, that we've got the pill with if you want to get Jadal and all those other injections, obviously you're gonna have to pay for them. But you see the price of those things. I remember at that time, I think Jadal was at $3, the other one was at $5, and it was actually relatively very very cheap because by then I think getting maybe a packet of uh, amoxicillin was also
mm,
like $3. So you see, it was like that packet of amoxicillin. It was $3. But of course, right now I cannot relate with the USD prices, and because I haven't been in the government facility. But I think population services, Zimbabwe has been doing amazing for us because it actually moves around and it does like your permanent not your permanent rather, but your
mm.
long-term family planning methods for free. So all someone has to do is actually just book. But like you're saying, some people don't actually know that some of these services are there and they're there for free. Because, for instance, the morning afters, personally, I didn't know them until I think my third year in college. And
Okay.
I mean, for a person studying nursing, that was pretty embarrassing.
I know,
So
right?
yeah, this knowledge is not everywhere because everyone
Mm,
assumes that you're an adult, so you're in practice and you should know these things. So I don't
mm,
take it for granted when someone speaks of something that I think I know because
mm,
I've been
mm,
in a situation where everyone thought I knew and I didn't know. So I'm really happy you're giving us this opportunity to talk about these things so that whoever's tuned in live can actually, get this information.
okay, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Deborah. Okay. Uh, on the contraceptive methods, obviously the common ones we have the contraceptive pills, we have the implants, we have vaginal rings, we have intrauterine devices, we have condoms, we have male and female sterilization. We also have withdrawal, we have fertility awareness based methods. Like there's so many ways, there's so many contraceptive methods, and obviously these methods have different mechanism of action and effectiveness in preventing unintended pregnancy. Okay, so of these, anyone who wants to tackle on how they work and um, if you have cases where they've really worked, because we want to you talk about things that are happening in the real life. So I'm guessing obviously you have relatives, you have sisters, you have friends. We've been in college, we've heard of these things. How do they even work? Any take on either of these methods? How do they work? And like the recommendations, or if you've heard any side effects, because I understand also they work differently according to your body, according to your calendar, your periodic calendar, your menstrual cycle, according to your hormones. Like they work differently. The way they would work for me is different from the way they would work for Cindy to the way also they would work for Deborah. So, ladies.
All right. I think I'll tackle that one.
Okay.
So definitely, like you said, that they work differently on different bodies. So by right, what we're saying is, so maybe let me start with the condoms. Obviously, that's just a barrier method where it blocks entry of any sperm, or I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say, mixing of
Yeah.
the fluids, right?
Yeah.
Then we've got you talked about intrauterine devices. Now, if you look at most of these intrauterine devices, they're either made of copper or something like some metal element. Right.
Mm,
And these metal elements, the purpose they serve or the way they function is they destruct. So these are ions, right? And you also have
mm,
ions in your body. So they're meant to sort of disrupt the balance. Or maybe let me use hormones for example, like the pill and your
mm,
other your jadals and so forth. How they work, they alter your hormone balance. You see. So the
mm,
way your hormones function, there's a period where you've got your luteinizing hormone being released. I'm sorry for being very technical. Maybe let me try and be a bit more relaxed in terms of the terminology. But what I'm trying to say is that our hormones, when you okay, fine, on a lady's menstrual cycle, there's a very
mm,
short period that she's actually very fertile. So now some people argue saying 5 day period, some people argue saying 7 day period, but the point is somebody is only fertile around the time that the egg is actually released. You see? Which is why some people just study the period cycle and then they estimate that I think my lady is about to she's going to ovulate most probably in 2 days time, so let me stop having sex with her or something like that. So that's how it actually works. So now when you're taking the pill, it then goes to alter your hormones such that um, even when your egg is released, for it to have somewhere to go and implant or anything, that there's nothing. Are you getting it? Because there are hormones that are produced to sort of give you that outer lining so that your fetus can so or your fetus can go and attach so that the baby starts growing. Now, if there's a hormone imbalance, it means things like that cannot happen and you do not fall pregnant. Are you getting how it sort of works out? So the trick is really just in playing with your hormones and disrupting the balance so that you don't fall pregnant. That's basically how it works.
Hmm, interesting.
I don't know if I didn't lose people there.
Interesting, interesting, interesting. And
sorry, my mic was muted. Uh that was very educational. Deborah, you spoke well like a nurse, like someone who is really in the medical field.
Sorry for those
Uh,
jargons.
no, it's fine. We understand. I mean, we were getting you. We're getting you. All right, Cindy, you were saying?
um, but how effective are those methods? It's actually a question. In like maybe to Deborah, like is it do they give you like a period like in 3 months or how effective are they? Like
Okay,
like
thank you for that question, Cindy. So you know what? Unfortunately, I cannot give you an exact answer. Of
Mm,
course, some people believe that the condom is the most effective, but or
mm,
just sterilization, definitely.
mm,
But like we said, that on different bodies it works differently. Now, just to sort of illustrate why I'm saying it works differently, some ladies have got more testosterone than other ladies. That's why you see some of them have got a beard. So you see, in terms of hormone balance, it's obviously going to be different. Now, if you even look at when you go on your periods, menstrual cycle, some people are very moody. Some, like, we all have our different variations and our different body types. So what's important is for someone to try out, which is why you see most of our mothers when they started some of them tried the pill, it didn't work for them. Then they had me. Then they tried the Jadal, it didn't work for them. Then they had my brother. As it goes. So it's really sort of a trial and error. But what our generation is now doing is they're doing sort of what we call a bi-protective method, so to say, where you're actually using two methods instead of one, just to be sure.
Okay.
Are you getting it? So I can't tell you that this is 100% because you go and get your Jadal or your Depo or whatever the case is, and then you come back and you're screaming on my head saying. And then the other thing that is really most important, um, so when offering family planning medication or treatment to people, what we usually ask is we want to know if they're on any other form of medication, because now they're what we call drug to drug interactions, where if I'm taking a certain pill and then I want to take another pill, they may interact and weaken the effects of the other drug. Are you getting it? Which is
Yes, we are
why
getting you.
you see it's important for us to know to have that drug history. And I know that this is very difficult, especially in HIV clients, because sometimes they do not want to disclose that they're HIV positive, but then they
Mm.
actually are seeking family planning medication. So now you come to me, I give you thinking you're a normal client, then they go and have drug-to-drug interactions with your ARVs, and usually the family planning tablets are the ones whose efficacy, we call it efficacy, sort of
Mm.
efficacy. Just think of efficiency. That's the kind of word we're looking at, where we're saying the
Mm.
efficiency of that drug is now reduced, which is why then someone can fall pregnant even though they're on the pill or even though they've received any form of family planning.
Cindy, are you
And then,
answered?
of course, withdrawal is not necessarily the most reliable because unless you can tell when someone has produced fluids in you, then you're safe. And like I said, some of these things are based on the relationship that you have. If the guy equally doesn't want to have children as much as you don't, he'll definitely withdraw before. But the question is, does he have that much control? So you see, now these kind of issues are specific to individuals. I cannot generalize. I hope I've
Okay.
answered you.
All right. All right. You have. Let me just go through the comment section. Um. Okay. So why don't you young ladies show your face? All right. For me, I just had a power cut today. So just now, actually in the evening. So I had to turn off my video. And and
Oh,
on And then for these lovely ladies, you will see them tomorrow. All right. So yesterday I'd promised my people that today we're going to be talking about prostitution, and unfortunately, I could not manage to reach Deborah because Deborah is a health expert and she is for also she's the voice for the voiceless, and she can also address certain issues without filtering. So, because I could not get our guest who I'd promised today, then definitely Deborah will be here tomorrow because when it comes to issues like that, I wanted someone who is really bold to say things as they are because, like I said before, we are here to learn, we are here to discuss, we accept all critics, all negativity, all positivity, we accept it. So definitely we'll talk about the issue that I had promised you guys. My apologies for that. Okay, and then also there's someone who's asking, okay, I'm sure this comment was for when Deborah was speaking that why would there be a stigma against talking about having children? That's totally a breakdown in communication. Then also from Keith, that sounds like here in America, back in the day, black people, they used to always have big families. And then also from Robert Williams, hi Robert, how about abstinence? Okay, that's a question from Robert. How about abstinence, ladies? How about abstinence?
very possible. But again, it's individually based.
All right, all right. And
But
then
it's
also,
the best.
yeah, yeah, you can speak. It's
It's
fine.
the best. Okay, I was going to say it's definitely the best. Um, but we cannot all be this as strong as the next person. So you see, just like how some men are turned on by seeing someone dressed, some most probably need to see someone undressed and they turned on. Some actually need someone to touch them. So it's not really based on what's your strength. Are you really able to abstain, and do you have a partner who's willing to support that vision of abstinence, or does he want to harvest, so to say?
Thank you for that. Yeah, yeah. That's very true. That's very true. Also from Keith, he's saying the men's sperm may be sterilized. Hello, ladies. The
Um,
men, the sperm can be sterilized.
okay, so I'm not getting Keith's question, but maybe I can try and answer G-Man Kondo when he asked about stigma.
Mm,
When I spoke about stigma, we were answering why people are not taking family planning. We were not
okay,
saying that they're not talking about children. So maybe I think that part he might not have
okay,
gotten me well. But we were talking about
okay,
stigma that stops people from actually seeking family planning services. Uh, that's one. And then with Keith, who's talking about man's sperm being sterilized, I know that we've got what we call chemical spermicides. So I'm
okay.
hoping that's what he's talking about. And these are sprays that you spray most probably after having sexual intercourse. And I'm sure you know there are methods where some people call it the shake down method, where you squat and you shake it out so that they don't swim up and things like that. I'm hoping that this is what he's referring to. Because if
Mm,
that is, once he confirms that, then maybe I can go deeper on that one.
all right. Okay. Okay. So feel free to ask questions. If you are tuning in, this is African Duchess Show with your host, Tumbidzaim Zupa from Zimbabwe in Southern Africa. So feel free to ask questions. We have two health experts in here. The issue and the topic of today is on family planning. So if you're joining us, we were talking on, we discussed earlier on why people haven't accessed family planning and yet it's there, and also on its importance. Also, we discussed on some of the methods of family planning. So feel free to put in your questions while we still have these ladies. Feel free to put in your questions. Feel free to put your critics so that we all hear what you guys are thinking about. All right. So yes, we are talking about family planning, but um, like I said from the beginning of the show, we are Africans. We are Africans, and for Africans, we take pride in numbers. Like Cindy was saying that her grandma has like 12 kids, and then he had 12 kids, and she has like a lot and lot of grandkids and all, and there's so much pride that comes with size, of the family, according to our culture. So, but now now have the issue of family planning coming in the 21st century. What has changed? What has changed? Is it that there's now more technology? There's now more need to be independent first before you have a big family? What has changed from then, from the 80s, the 60s, the 70s, and now the 21st century, where we now want to speak on family planning? What has changed? What has changed in our societies, in our communities? What has changed? Why now people feel the need to plan for the families, like as opposed to back in the day when people would just want to have kids and kids and kids non-stop.
Cindy, do you want to take that one or should I go ahead?
Uh, Go ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Um, this is what I'd like to believe. I
Mm,
don't mean to disrespect our parents or those who came before us.
okay.
Now, it, I mean, I've also been trying to study why we have that difference, and because of my position at work, I'm able to actually ask a couple of questions when people come in of different ages and they're seeking different counseling services. So you realize that with our parents of old, family was really important. What they considered life or someone to have lived to their fullest or to really, to fulfill Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that self-actualization was to leave as many children, and for them they were happy. But now with our generation, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is being satisfied with personal needs now, you see? So instead of having children, we actually feel like children pull us down, and we are having them only for the sake of someone either to carry the name or to also not be stigmatized in the society, saying, she doesn't have a child, she's got, no heritage to leave the stuff, that kind of scenario. So the reason why our parents of old and we now want to plan, because you realize our parents would just have a child, whether they have the money to keep them or not. If they don't, they'll just send them to some other relative. But in our
Mm,
generation, if you want to come and visit my house, you need to call me a month before. That, no, I'm going to come and visit you, Mrs. Mteva. You see?
mm,
Then I'll tell you, okay, I'll be there or I'll not be there. But back then, you would just abruptly visit your Sekuru, stay there for 3 months, and you not even be asked questions. So we're now living in different times, and these are definitely dire times as well, because in terms of affording things, in terms of planning,
mm,
we're more advanced. Uh, I would like to say generation, and because we're looking at moving forward, we want to have a smaller niche so that we're able to control it rather than
mm.
just leave things going out there. That's what I would like to believe is one of the causes. Obviously, not the only one.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that input, Deborah. Cindy, so hello.
Hello, hi Rumbi.
Yes. Over to you.
Okay, I think Deborah just answered all of it. um, Things have changed, back then, as as she said, like people could afford to have, afford, not necessarily financially, but even physically and emotionally. Like I was saying, people would start having kids at 16 or even earlier. But now, because of the laws as well, you find that it's now illegal to have underage, um like if you sleep with an underage child, and all these things, some of them have been, they have been put there to protect even the younger generation. And you find that people are now focusing on self actualization first before starting families. So if you start having children at, say, 30, you find that you won't, by the time you get to your menopause, maybe at around 40, maybe you'll have maybe 3 kids or something. And so now people don't have 8 children anymore. In rare cases, but people are more inclined to having less, smaller families, and like maybe in the case of overpopulation, like in China, Asia, where now they were now limited to the one child policy. Imagine that being told you can only have one child. So I think times are changing.
That is very true. Uh, yes, you can, Deborah. Hello, hello.
I'm still here.
Oh, you're still here. All right, then
Yeah.
let me just go through the comments. I don't know if I got your question right. That's from Jacob, but I think what has changed also is the mindset of people nowadays because we now look at our financial stability. Um, then from kids, I only believe in being celibate for spiritual reasons because I've been celibate for 5 years. I would never believed I would have never believed I could go for 5 days. Wow, kids. Okay. Uh I think I have you beat at kid. Okay, that's from Mr. Pirate. And then from Robert. I believe it to be tied to moral and economic stability. All out truth, just plain old selfishness. And then from kid and women be trying to tempt me, but I stayed strong. All right, all right, okay. So we have men out there who actually big celibate, and it's working out for them. And you can see kid is attesting to it that he's been getting temptations left, right, and center, but it's quite strong. It's quite strong. So this is coming from a man. So if you imagine if this is coming from a man, what more women? I'm sure we can do this. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. Thank you, people from the chat room. Okay, this was the African Duchess Show with your host, Tumbi Zopa. And then to our ladies, where's Deborah? Okay. Cindy, anything to say before we close down the show? All right, and then let me just read the comment from Mr. Pirate Brain. I'm not having sex until I get to the to Gambia. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Then Cindy, so I don't know if you have anything to say before we close down the show.
Um, maybe in closing, I'd just like to add on that it's it's good to have a family. It's good to have children. It's it's a blessing to leave, a generation. It's where we came from. If our grandparents had decided to have just one kid, but it's a blessing. It's also important to just plan plan now, especially now with the way things you don't want to have a child and not be able to take care of it, not be able to provide for them, not be able to provide a safe environment for them. So that's important, especially the planning, the planning part, because um, it's it's going to affect even how the children are going to behave, how they're going to be raised, what kind of a life you're going to bring them into. So planning is very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Cindy. Thank you for that. And then Deborah was just asking if you had any closing remarks pertaining to today's show and today's topic before we close down.
All right, thank you so much for that, Trimby. I think just in closing, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity. It's really been amazing having this discussion with you and to those who are following live. Um, please do share with your friends, your relatives, so that everyone is on board and they're educated. Because remember, they say knowledge is power, and I like to say I want to become very powerful. In other words, I just want to continue getting as much knowledge as I can get. I hope you desire the same. Thank you. Till next time.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, there was someone who was asking when the show started that if you guys are related.
Why? Can they comment why they asked that question before I answer them?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow if these two ladies are related. You get a closer look at their features and then you can decide if they are related. Okay, so let's just keep them in suspense for today.
They should be.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. This was the African Duchess Show with your host, Tumbi Zipa from Zimbabwe. Please share with your friends and family the link for today's show so that they can always go through it tomorrow. We'll meet tomorrow, same time, 10 p.m. Central African time, and then we'll discuss on what you guys we're beating about in the comment section. We'll discuss on the issue of prostitution. So come ready, because we'll have very important guests, including Deborah as well. I'll also confirm with Cindy so if she can make it for tomorrow's show. Good night to those who are waking up. Good morning. Have a good day to everyone. Good night from the Duchess.
I miss you, well, I miss your smile. I miss that way I'm gonna get it. I miss your touch. I miss December. I miss